Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with Matt and Seth. And today we're going to talk about Knave, first and the new second edition. We've been interested in Knave for some time. It's only a 7-page PDF. And now that we see that the second edition out on Kickstarter by Ben Milton of aka Questing Beast on YouTube.
Really fascinating system. Ben runs a fantastic channel all about the OSR and really gets into the nitty-gritty of it and how to run a game using the OSR principles. And he's written several games. This is actually his second game. He wrote a game called Maze Rats, which was a very simple game, even simpler than Knave. And so, the first thing that stands out about Knave is that it is classless, but that doesn't mean it's loaded with skills. It's really a class and level role-playing game. Only there's one class. Seth called it the Telengard role-playing game.
Yes, I fear we're dating ourselves there, but yeah.
Yes, we're old. Telengard was awesome. So the idea is everybody plays a knave, which is a ne'er-do-well, roguish sort of adventurer. And your character can do anything adventurous, right? Anything that Bilbo Baggins could do, or Conan could do, or even wizard stuff. There's magic, and the way this is handled, to keep you from doing everything all the time, is surprisingly the encumbrance system. So let me explain, because that sounds really weird. You have so many slots for your encumbrance based on your constitution, and your character's abilities, what your character can do, is really dependent on your stats, your scores, because those are what you roll to do something, and your equipment. So if you want to be a fighter, you got to buy a sword and and armor. Right? You want to be a thiefy character, you need lockpicks and crowbars and other stuff. If you want to be a mage, you have to buy a spell book. Now here's the trick. Every spell takes one book. So it's one book per spell. And every spell takes a slot. So if you have, I don't know, a standard character would have maybe 12, 13 slots, you have to decide what you're going to take with you, right? So you've got some armor, that's 3 slots. You get a helmet, that's a slot. You get a sword, that's a slot. You've got a spell book. For one spell, that's a slot. You want more than one spell, you've got to get more than one spell book. And it's actually really, really clever. It allows you to change up your character and kind of do whatever you want to whatever you can think of. So Seth and I actually, we've all read the game, but Seth and I actually had a chance to play it. Seth, what did you think about the game as a player?
Oh, I liked the character creation. There was a lot of random sort of character background plot hooks. You'd get ideas from rolling. You rolled on such thing as your hairstyle or facial scars or background or sibling. It's sort of like Hackmaster in that regard, or Traveler also. But you could use it or you could not. It just gives you some sort of building blocks to sort of build a background for your character, some sort of ideas. And I like that. And the way you rolled up stats was a little bit different too. And it pretty much made it so there was a lot narrower average of stats. You could go as low as 3 or as high as 18. I think, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just between 11 and 16, or 10 and 16, 11 and 16, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes. So there was a really interesting way of rolling stats, which I'm hesitant to get into because they've changed it for second edition. So
Oh, okay.
so that's no longer how you make your stat. But in both
Okay.
cases, it's uh, it's it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. Character creation is very fast, and as Seth said, you can sit down with some dice and just create a completely random character. Uh, Everything from your appearance to your alignment, your three alignments, your background, all that stuff can be randomized, which is great. I mean, I really like that. You don't have to do that, but I really like it. A lot of fun to roll all this stuff, and more often than not, you're going to get things that don't make any sense. So you have to make them make sense. You have to gotta weave them all together and come out with a strange story. You're like, well, why is my noble dressed so badly? You're like, well, okay, he's at a falling out or he's hiding from the law, or like, why is my bum, why is my beggar dressed really, really well? What's going on? And why do I have this terrible scar? And all that sort of stuff. So,
One, it's just to say something else about the magic system.
yeah,
I'm not sure what he did in second edition. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But in first edition, he has a list of level lists, just 100 spells. So it's really nice. It's really random if you want to just roll 100-sider to see what spell you get. And then it would be, as Matt was saying, one spell is one spell book that takes up one slot, and each spell book can be cast once a day.
yes. So it's fancy and magic, and the spell books don't have to be books. They can be scrolls, they can be tablets, they can be whatever you can kind of think of. They can be magic crystal balls, whatever uh, as long as they take up an entire inventory slot, and they take two hands to use. So, a scroll, or a stone tablet, or even you can even make it like a ring or a necklace, but it's actually really, really heavy, like the One Ring or something. So that Ben really encourages you really have to use your imagination. Like those 100 spells don't really have any rules. The description will tell you what the spell does, but you have to, as the referee, you have to adjudicate it. The spell will be like, Seth, I believe you had a spell where you could detach part of your body and send it off and bring it back. How long does that spell last? What is that body part able to do? What happens if it's destroyed? None of that's covered in the sentence long description, but I think that's a feature, not a bug, because it's old school, and so old school's rulings, not rules. So it's all up to the referee to figure this out.
Before you change subjects,
yeah.
So when I first saw that this was a classless or one class system, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure about that, but I think variety is a good thing in role-playing games. No one wants to be the same thing over and over. But with the traits feature, there's so many wonderful things like face, physique, skin, background, speech, virtue. There's so many different options you can pick randomly. I think that really kind of compensates for the lack of a variety of classes, or just having one class, just because that will make your character different from the rest, especially if you just choose to make it as random as possible. So I think that's the fun of it.
Yeah. So Seth, what do you think as a player of this one class system, being able to pick up a spell book or put a spell book down? Do you like that idea, or do you want to be a more dedicated wizard? Because
it depends on the type of game you want to play. Sometimes it's really useful if you're only having one or two people in a game, and people aren't shoehorned into, oh, I need a fighter, I need a cleric, I need a wizard. But it's useful just to have what like one a couple people that can fit in any role at any given time, depending on what they want to do at the time.
Yeah. This just opens up so many fantastic possibilities. I just keep thinking of new things. Like, for instance, um, as a DM, I always hesitate to destroy the wizard's spell book because it just seems so mean. And yet there are times when that would happen. People steal things, you fall in water, you get, there are logically times when a book is a fragile thing and you would, you would take it away. But it's such a terrible thing to do to a wizard because it's so hard to replace. But in Knave, I feel no compunction about stealing your spell book or destroying it because you can just grab a sword and you're still in there. It's not so that's really cool. The other thing about Knave is in first edition, there's no divine magic, so there are no clerics. There's no healing or anything. In second edition, they've added some divine magic, and it looks like, from the preview I've read, it looks like it works kind of like Dungeon Crawl Classics patrons, where you kind of make a deal with it. Anybody can do it. But I went off on this big tangent. I wrote a blog post about it for this implied setting for Knave, right? So if there's no divine magic, that means that if there's a church and they are miracle workers, they must be using the same sort of magic that the players are. So then I started thinking, well, how would that work? And I thought, well, what if there's this there's this jealous theocracy that only allows certain people to do certain spells, and other magic's considered evil, and they send out inquisitioners and they steal magic and bring it back and put it in their secret vaults, and I don't know. It just, to me, Knave sort of implied this almost Conan-like world, because first of all, everybody's human. Forgot to mention that. And none of the characters are wizards. They can use magic. Anybody can use magic if they can find it and read the spell book. But it specifically says that characters can't write spells, they can't copy spells, they can't change spells. So, whoever made these spell books are either specialist NPCs who are off in their towers too busy to adventure, or maybe they've come and gone and they're the wizards of the past, and this is just the lore that we're left. We don't know the secrets of magic. We don't know. It's a lost art. We don't know how it works. We just know that it works. So it's very light on setting. In fact, it's got no setting, but it's got, all rules have this sort of implied setting, and this one in first edition anyway just came up with all these wonderful possibilities. So I was really intrigued, and the second edition is on Kickstarter now. I've backed it. It's gone from 8 pages PDF to a big book. So he's changed a few of the rules, but the big thing, the big addition, is that he's added just scores and scores of pages of charts. So now, in addition to charts for tables you can use to roll out your characters, you can make apparently you can do an entire campaign world by rolling on the different charts.
Nice.
You can do the entire thing. So I love random charts, so I'm really excited to see it, and it looks like it's got some great artwork. You should really check out the Kickstarter. I'm really excited about this. This happens to me all the time. I have a game and I'm playing it, and then when a new game comes out, and I start I have like these little guilty thoughts in the back of my head about, oh, maybe I should drop everything and play this game. So Knave is kind of like that. I'm not going to, don't worry, but I'm tempted to drop everything and play Knave because I really like the possibilities that it opens up.
Yeah, I'm curious. This Knave Second Edition and Shadow Dark are two books that I want to
Yeah.
get my hands on to see how they what they use for rules exactly and how things change. But for the first one, my favorite rule that he did, he wrote something about critical hits and quality when it comes to weapons and armor. So like if you roll a 1 on your weapon, that just diminishes the quality of your weapon, and after three quality or 3 misses, that weapon's no good anymore. And I thought that's really cool. I would love to implement that in some sort of OSR game, you know.
Yeah, that's why I buy all these games. Even if I never get to play them, I'm slowly assembling, and I think everybody does this. I'm slowly assembling my master game, my master Frankenstein creation from bits and pieces of other games. And the one thing that, even if I'm not playing Knave, the one thing I'm going to grab is in combat, he has stunts. And a stunt is blinding someone, tripping someone, breaking a vase, all that sort of crazy stuff that lots of games have, and they have all sorts of different rules for it. But I really like Ben's rule. Ben's rule is really simple. On your turn, you can make an attack, and your attack can either be a straightforward attack to damage someone, or it can be a stunt, which can basically be anything at all, but it can't do direct damage. And you make it using an attack roll against their, against their armor class, which I think is just beautifully wonderful, simple. I mean, it's great. Depending on what you're doing, I might also give them a saving throw, on top of but maybe not. Maybe, so it's your turn. Well, I'm going to attack the goblin. No, you know what? I'm going to try to knock him over. Okay, go ahead, make an attack. If the attack succeeds, you've knocked him over. I like that. So I'm really thinking of adapting that to my game.
So I'm gonna ask our viewers, or our listeners, depending if they're listening to us on our podcast. What is your favorite OSR rule? Or maybe what's your favorite rule that you use in all your different games, no matter what edition? I'm curious to hear what people take with them. Like Advantage from 5th edition is probably the one rule I use a lot now for almost any system. It's a great mechanic.
Yeah. No, I like it. I wrote a whole system based on it. A whole game based on Advantage. But yeah, okay, cool. So Knave out. You can buy the 1st edition on Drive-Thru RPG for
like $3, I think.
Yeah, $3-4. So definitely check that out. And then you can go back the Kickstarter, the Kickstarter is just phenomenally taking off. Apparently, it was the fastest growing project on Kickstarter, of any type of project, which is pretty amazing. It's completely blasted past his initial goals. So all sorts of stretch projects and deluxe editions and all sorts of things. So check it out. It's great. Hey.
All right. Take care, everyone. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.